How disappointed were you that the plans to open this consumption room have been delayed?
I think that in the bigger picture, I'm not sure what's what the answer is. I think it's a bold and interesting scheme, and I'd like to see it go ahead. I mean, you want to see anything that kind of stops people that stops people from putting themselves in jeopardy is something that we have to embrace. Criminalisation isn't helping, so I think we're at the desperate stage where we have to try things, and we have to take drugs off the streets. We have to take them away from the criminal gangs and the empires that they build around these things. And as long as as long as they're on the streets, there's everybody, particularly young people, have got the need for compelling drama, and they're not getting it anywhere else. They're not getting it through the world of work. They're not getting that kind of drama, that interface. So they're getting it with each other in terms of scoring, in terms of conflict, in terms of trying to find a hierarchy in the gangs that are issuing and dealing all these drugs. So I think these are the issues that need to be addressed. And if you can decriminalise it, if you can take it away from from this kind of sort of whole underground culture, then perhaps maybe it's a stage. But the thing is that everything now is in poor parts of the country. Everything is set up for addiction. It's not just drugs. It's like kind of fast. It's the horrible processed foods. It's online pornography, online gambling. Everything is set up for the cheap dopamine smash. I mean, even news programs like this are set up for the cheap dopamine smash, and people are going from one addiction to the next. So we really have to address that as a society.
What is it about Glasgow? Why is that the drug capital of Europe?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it is. I think people are doing drugs everywhere. Even people that live in kind of nice parts of London and they work in the media, even some that work in television, are doing loads of drugs, but they're getting high quality stuff basically, and by the time it percolates kind of up to places like Glasgow, it's been cut, it's been done, but and it's been it's just all sorts of nonsense in it. But the other thing is as well that in Scotland, the whole culture. I mean, if you get a very deprived part of Scotland or a very deprived part of England where people are shooting heroin, the whole culture of the hit is such a big thing in Scotland. I mean, one of the guys in your program mentioned this, that do anything for a hit, and that goes right back to it's a cultural thing. I mean, our national drink is whiskey for a reason. It's not beer as it is in England. And then, when I moved to London in the 80s, I noticed that most people were smoking heroin off the foil rather than injecting. And when you're injecting, you're having that hit, but you're also much more vulnerable to drug overdose. You're much more vulnerable to infection through needles. So I think that there's a cultural thing that exists in Scotland about the hit and about that idea of a cocktail of drugs as well, which you don't have so much down south. That idea that we seek oblivion at all costs, and that's been a kind of important part of and terrible part really of Scottish culture. But that's about privation and a kind of a cultural distance from a place that 400 another country 400 miles away is making our laws. So there's a kind of existential, internally colonized mentality that makes that kind of hit thing seem such a vital part of your culture.